Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show, brought to you by Over the Bar. We are checking in late this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you're watching around the world, to do another VfB Stuttgart UEFA Champions League instant match reaction. Joined again for the second show running and for the second win running by Travis of VfB Americana. Travis, good evening. Thanks for joining me once more. Well, that was quite nice, wasn't it?
I think we're going to have to keep these going, Rory, because we're 2-0 now that you and I are doing the instant react. And boy,
exactly.
There was a moment there where I thought, Rory and I are not going to have a lot of good things to talk about.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game. There was a great deal of comfort for a lot of the match for VfB, and yeah, we'll kind of chronologically work our way through it. Talk about some interesting points, some take on, some reflections for games to come, particularly now the PSG match when we're talking from a UEFA Champions League point of view. And yeah, man the match votes and things like that. So yeah, obviously if you're joining us live, get involved, say hello, let us know your thoughts on man the matches, performances. It's also particularly sweet, no doubt, for us VfB fans, considering we were the only German side to get over the line tonight, given what happened to Dortmund and Leverkusen. I was messaging Mark, obviously, Mark from this show, and we always chat away throughout the evening. I was saying, half time is going great for the Bundesliga sides, and I sufficiently managed to jinx at least Dortmund and Leverkusen in the same breath, who then both succumbed to 2-1 defeats. Mark checking in very kindly as well, saying dominant for most of the game for VfB, also relating to how it was a bad miss from Mittelstadt. We'll get onto that. Yeah. Ballum checking in as well, saying show everyone Champions League table. We might have to get that up on screen for you, Ballum. Thank you for tuning in. Right, well, first things first, Travis. Unlike a good few games in the Champions League, at least this season, VfB started this game very, very well and very, very quickly.
Yeah, it was just, I wrote down in a little bit of my notes that all the concerns I had going into this, the travel, the maybe Slovan was going to be really fired up because this was their last Champions League home match because they'd already been eliminated. It didn't look like they even wanted to be on the pitch there for a while. Kudos to them for picking it up pretty much after the 60th minute. But we were just in complete control of that. And you kept thinking, this pitch is enormous because it looked like we had so much space everywhere. And I kept texting our group strand, if we get another goal, this thing is over. And it just, to Slovan's credit, that first half, they gave up, I think, 15 corner kicks. And they didn't play terrible defense. They were able to hang into it. But boy, oh boy, you're thinking at the halftime, we're only up 2-0. We could really be running away with this. But no, the guys, they came out. Jamie came out strong. Dennis came out strong. I have some kudos that I'll give out to the defense later. But the guys came out way more focused and into this than we've seen them when they played Sparta Prague, for example. That was kind of the concern I had, is they're going into a game that they should win. And the last time they really had that on the road, they got their doors kicked in. And this one, they just looked the dominant team from start to, boy, for most of it. I don't know what you saw, but I was thinking at one point, this is going to be over, boy, by halftime.
Yeah, well, it should have been. It absolutely should have been. I think two things that I picked out, and it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on this, is that, so you mentioned the corners. We had an unbelievably high amount of them in the first half, particularly. So that looked like a genuine weapon. I know, obviously, we didn't profit from it tonight, but so there seemed to be a general consensus to do in-swinging corners and put it on the goalkeeper. I think you said that they defended pretty well, which I'd agree with more or less. I think obviously their keeper their keeper, from an aerial point of view, looked quite weak, although he made quite a lot of good ground saves. And then another point is that we got a lot of joy again early on, which you mentioned, the space, by playing in behind that defense, which seemed almost too easy at times, because Undav and Furyk were really profiting from that, those kind of long diagonals. And yeah, we got so much space from it. And yeah, obviously for the first goal, it's a bit of generosity, a lot of generosity from Denise tonight. I couldn't believe how he picked out the crossfield passes or the square passes a few times. So yeah, corners and diagonals. Do we think that's just from an opposition point of view, or will we see that a little bit more in games to come?
I was really surprised because we just don't seem to have players that fit that type of style, with Seru being gone. Nick Valtamata, maybe, but he's not really a player who plays very well with his head. He's more with his feet, which is ironic because he's 17 feet tall.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think what struck me with this match is that Slovan looked like a team who was coming out of the winter break. They haven't had a competitive match since a month ago, December 14th, I believe. And my fear was that they were going to, in the second half, pick it up just because they would get the groove back a little bit. And that certainly seemed to be what happened. I think one of our weaknesses this year, Rory, I don't know if you agree or not, has been corner kicks. I was really excited to see Fabian Rieder get out there because that seems to be the one thing he does really, really well.
Yeah.
And then after the 10th corner kick in the first half, you're thinking, okay, try something new, because this just isn't happening here. Even the goal that Anthony Rouault scored last week in the Bundesliga, I don't think he saw that go in. So I don't know if that's really our forte at this point. So at some point I was like, all right, after 10 of these, 12 of these, we got to try something new. Because it just didn't seem to be working too much. Back to the drawing board would be my opinion with that.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and I think I think it was in the first half, because the in-swinging corners were coming in, and it wasn't getting a payoff. They did a short corner routine which could have paid off. So it seemed like they did try at least to mix it up a little bit, but that ultimately became a bit of a dead end. I suppose if you're thinking, if it's not working, ultimately against Slovan Bratislava, is it going to work against PSG? So sorry, were you going to say something on that?
Yeah, it's kind of what Balham said in the chat. Is like, it seemed like it was corner practice. At some point, you're just keep trying. And they had good kicks. Angelo Stiller puts some good balls into the box. It just doesn't seem like last season with Seru and with Valdemar. It seemed like we had height. Daxo, we had height in the box that could punish people on those type of plays. I don't really think we have the players to do that this time around. I'm really not a big fan of the kind of fake corner kick, but I think with this particular club and this particular lineup at this particular time, it actually makes more sense to go with those. The group I kind of want to shout out a little bit, because we're kind of sort of talking about guys on the corners, is Jeff Chabot. He's probably one of the guys you think, okay, he's a big burly guy, he could do some damage there. I really think the group that won't get a lot of love today is the defense. I thought, especially in that first 60, 70 minutes, they just shut down whatever it was Slovan was trying to do. We saw, I thought, what Joshua Wagnerman is in a nutshell with this club, about how just awesome he is on getting back on defense, how he struggles on switches, when the other team switches it across the pitch. I think that's where their goal came from. And how he does very much struggle on crosses or any kind of offensive play. But I really thought the defensive guys, from Anthony Rouault to Jeff Chabot to Maxi Middleshot, I thought they put the clamps on this match really early, to the point where Slovan I think they only had 2 shots on goal by the 60th, or 1 shot on goal by the 60th minute. So I want to give them a little bit of a shout out, because even though it seemed like we should have been able to open this up a little bit more than we did, those guys made sure for a long time that wasn't even questionable. You weren't even really scared or worried until maybe the last 20 minutes that Slovan was going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, precisely. I think it's fair to shout out the defense because they have been, particularly from myself on the show, been under a bit of scrutiny. I think the one failure throughout the game comes for the goal. If we want to fast forward that far, which is where, and it's not necessarily a wrong act by Jeff Chabot because he goes to be aggressive in the first tackle, but then he doesn't win the ball and follows up by advancing up the pitch, which leaves a huge gap, which Ruel can't cover. The ball plays in behind, and their striker or winger does a good job of obviously lifting it over Alexander Nubel in net for the 2-1 goal. So I think really that's the only time, the only chance that Slovan had in the first half was from that ridiculous free kick decision from our delightful English referee who was officiating it this evening. Yes, and obviously Ruel was booked for that as well, wasn't he? So that was the only time you felt worried from a set piece point of view. From defending, Stuttgart did pretty well. A couple of times that Nubel maybe kind of half dropped the ball, but he was well kind of protected in that sense. Just picking up on what Ballum's asked, where are Stuttgart in the group phase, the league group, and kind of reacting to that. So as things stand right now, Stuttgart are in the top 24 to qualify for the next round, which is delightful to say, up into 21st place, which in itself doesn't sound amazing, but out of 36, we're doing well. We're above Real Madrid. How nice is that to say? We're above Man City. We're above PSG. I mean, just daft, isn't it? So we're on 10 points. Obviously there's a good group of teams who are yet to play and will play tomorrow evening. So we will find out ultimately our proper rank once the dust settles on Wednesday evening and know what's required, because Man City and PSG face off against each other tomorrow, which will hugely shape, what's going to happen. What needs to happen against PSG, obviously at home. I mean, if we're kind of moving away from the game a little bit, I want to come back to the point that I've raised on socials a little bit about our clinicality on the evening, but the game against PSG is just so perfectly set up for the lads.
Yeah.
It just looks like such a tasty match. I couldn't be looking forward to it more. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I thought the announcer did a really good job of saying how these are two clubs that have kind of risen from the ashes, kind of like a phoenix, and how Slovan was in financial distress and had been relegated, and how they had moved back up to their rightful place in the Bundesliga or in the Slovakian league, and how Stuttgart has been relegated, a threat of relegation, and they are moving themselves up into what we all think is the rightful place in the top half of the Bundesliga at least. So I thought it was kind of interesting story where you had these two clubs that had been on hard times who were kind of making the push back in. Kudos to Slovan. They had to go through 4 qualifying rounds to get here, and it didn't end the way,
literally.
Yeah, they wanted, but kudos to our traveling fans, because on my ESPN Plus broadcast, you could hear them very clearly and very loudly. So those people just do an amazing job. I'm not ashamed of 25th or 21st place at all things considered.
No.
50 Plus Donor put out a tweet about how we're ahead of Man City, Real Madrid, PSG right now. And you're like, okay, it's definitely out of context a little bit, but this is the best of the best. And Rory, we're holding our own, which is just awesome to see. And the thing that I think is really interesting, if people who are watching this haven't seen the VfB in Folga, it's on their website, but it's also on YouTube, and it basically is a documentary of their season. And it hasn't been a great season so far in the first 3 episodes of this. But what is really cool is that they show how much the Champions League means to these players. Mm-hmm. When they found out they were playing at Real Madrid, how excited they got. They were like kids. When they found out they were playing at Juventus, how excited they got. So for them to have a home match against a PSG, who is in first place in the French league right now, in front of those just bonkers supporters at MHP Arena, I think they've got to be licking their chops to think about that. I'm a little worried about what's going to happen with Mainz, because the PSG game, I think, is going to be first and foremost on their thoughts and their emotions. But I think they are just going to eat this up. And the question I wanted to ask you was, how awesome was it to see Dennis back out there, kind of the field general? I know Angelo and Ada are kind of the generals of the whole team. But seeing Dennis up there and seeing him be almost too unselfish, which it worked the one time, didn't work the other time, unfortunately, with Maxi's attempt, like Mark said. I want to get your thoughts on Dennis, because he is, I definitely think it's Angelo and Ada that are the engines that make sure everything is working. They're the spine of the team, but he is definitely the heart of this team. And to see him play the way he played today gives me so much confidence going into that PSG match, which I'm crazy excited about. And I can only imagine how excited those guys are.
Yeah. As you say, I think the turn of the year and the winter break falling in line with the fact that Undav and Leveling could return, in perfect harmony for 2025. There's absolutely, there's a clear link as to why this upturn in form has happened. The consistency's back. We've won every game so far this year. He is, he has been, he's not started every match. He's come off and made impact subs or whatever else is. But he gives the team a real lift, like you say, and his tenacity, his ability to pull Stuttgart forward as a team and be that character and leader, like you say. Stiller and Atta, are the generals and the kind of conductors of the team. But I really feel, like you say, that Undav is the sort of player who will literally grab this team by the scruff of the neck and pull them through. And, interested to see how we'll match up against PSG and the team lineup that will start with. But, everything that Stuttgart are going to do well will ultimately come through, Undav. And I want to kind of flip it back on you now, as to, I don't think that Enzo really got involved too much tonight. He was, he didn't play badly by any set. I think everyone had a great impact on the game. It was a good team performance. I don't think anyone was massively stand out. Obviously, Jamie scored 2 goals with their 2 tap-ins, and people contributed. Reader did well off the bench to finish things off. But yeah, again, a big game for Mio as well. Up against the French side, it'll mean a lot to him, no doubt. We've got to find a way to make sure he's in the game, because if he's so important to be able to take pressure off the team, with his dribbling ability, his passing ability as well, getting onto the half turn, getting into the half spaces. So what's the best way of us being able to exploit that and get him into games like this?
I love having him with Dennis out there, because they're both 2 playmakers who seem to know how to use space that doesn't fit onto the coaching whiteboard, so to speak. We've all played FIFA, and there are certain players that are wingers, strikers, goalies, and you know where they go. Enzo Mio is such an X factor that he doesn't fit into a particular spot. And for people like me that are trying to visually watch this, it's frustrating, because I don't know where and what box to put him in. But I think that's his strength, and why Sebastian loves him so much is that this guy can play from the 8 to the 10 to the, sometimes he can be up at the 9, moving around all over the place. And I thought there was something really interesting in one of those Valpy episodes where, after the mid match, so the halftime speech, Sebastian basically said, Ada's going to set you guys up. You guys go do what he says, and let's go win this game. And I think it was against Union Berlin where they had to come back. And I've read this before, that he allows the guys he gives them a game plan, but he allows them a lot of freedom. And Enzo, I think, is somebody who really benefits from that. I don't want to bash on Bruno Labbadia, which is too easy to do, so I won't do it. But Bruno wasn't going to play him because Bruno runs a very regimented system. Enzo needs freedom to be able to do whatever he's going to do. And I agree with you. I think playing against PSG, a French team, he's either going to be so fired up he's going to get a red card, or he's just going to be all over the place making those small plays. I think for me personally, he's a hard guy to evaluate because I don't know exactly what he's doing. And I know that on our podcast, we say that we're uninformed, and this really fits that quite well. But I think he's a bit of an X factor, kind of like Dennis is, to where almost like a Thomas Mueller, they're in the right spot at the right time, and you don't really think about it. And then all of a sudden there's a pass, there's a goal, something like that. I know in the broadcast today, the announcer mentioned a couple times about, oh, there's Enzo, but to your point, how he was kind of invisible for a while. And then all of a sudden, there he is. And I think that's kind of part of his magic, but also some of the frustration. Transfermarkt has him valued at $40 million right now. I'm sure we have an exit clause for about $17. So we'll see.
Sadly, probably.
We'll see how that goes. But no, I think I love what you said, is that there wasn't one single guy that stood out today. Even Jamie, who had the brace, that second goal, you or I probably could have not scored. It was.
I would like to think so, yeah.
Yeah. So even he didn't stand out crazy. So this was a perfect team match where all the good things that we love about this club showed up, but all the things that we still need to work on showed up as well. So I 100% agree with you. Enzo is kind of emblematic of that he was great, but also invisible at times. And this was a 3-1 win that probably should have been 5-1.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just wanted to shout out, I'm glad the live chat's working for us tonight, because it wasn't doing so well for a few people the other night. So thanks all to those that have tuned in and had a good say and have been enjoying our reaction. A few other points to pick up on then. So, mentioned it on socials, just something that was frustrating me throughout the game, particularly when we went 2-1. Well, not when we went 2-1 down, when it went to 2-1. And that could have given us a nervy finish, was the clinicality of the lads tonight. We've mentioned Maxi's miss. A bit strange that Undav became this super unselfish player. I think he makes the right call on the first goal, but there's zero need for him to do it on the Maxi chance. Obviously, Demi comes off the bench, has a good chance. Undav hit the post from a header. Just chances falling out of my brain here. But and I think a few people mentioned that their goalkeeper had a good game. I think that's fair to say. I think he made some good saves. But also we had some weak finishes. So again, put that right for PSG. And I think really that's the only complaints or kind of pick up that I just wanted to kind of voice there myself.
100%. It's what I liked is the mentality and maturity is what we talked about on our program last week. They came into this match, and it wasn't like one of those matches that we've seen in the past where they get up early and then they immediately take their foot off the gas. They went for it the whole time. I thought Slovan played pretty decent defense the first half. I can't remember that many chances that we actually had. I 100% agree with you in the second half. We could have blown this thing wide open and not had to worry about it too much. It's been a mark of this team since you and I have been following, right? Since pre-Reno days, is that we have opportunities. We just can't put them away. When we had Alex Zorniger, we would have 30 shots on goal, or 30 shots. Mind you, we'd only have 2 on goal when he was with us. But today was one of those. I think we were spoiled. Last year having Seru, he put chances away like crazy. And then having a healthy Dennis, he was putting chances away as well. I think the thing we have to take a step back from is, as disappointed as we are that we didn't put this away earlier, is some of these guys are working their way back into fitness. Jamie said he was only about 85%.
He did.
Dennis has been kind of working himself into and out of the starting lineup, kind of getting back into fitness. So Angel Stiller, I'm shocked they haven't given this guy a break, because he is just so, I don't know if he's the Energizer Bunny or what, as we call it in the States, where he is just always playing. So I think part of it is we do have a couple key guys that are kind of working their way back. And the flip side of this is, as we said with Derek Ray a couple weeks ago, is how arrogant have we become where we can win a Champions League game 3-1 and we can be like, "Oh, come on, what's happening now?" So
yeah, exactly that, and context is always key. Away wins in the Champions League do not come easy. And for how comfortable and easy it was for most of, 95% of this match, that should only be credit and praise, to Seb and the lads, because it was a really complete performance. But, we wouldn't have much to talk about if we didn't, pick up certain things and want to think about how can we be better? How can we be better for PSG? Because we will have to be on that level and another one. To pick things up on that. So I think, the most kind of prominent thing for us to finish the show is to try and think of the man of the match. I've already kind of made this difficult for myself and for you, Travis, saying that it was a real team performance. I'm just remembering now, though, there are some more things I really liked from Jamie. Other than, well, he did almost butcher the second goal, let's be honest.
And he probably could have had a hat trick if that header is on target.
Header, so, he should have scored that one. But one thing I really liked was his tracking back where Wagnerman gets squared up. Big interception there. And just, I don't think it was when it was 2-1, but I remember just for a spell of time where Slovan had stepped up a little bit, Laveling got on the ball and went on the break, and it was a good chance, to potentially, have a counter chance and maybe put in a cross. But you could visibly see him saying to the lads, right, like, calm down here. Let's just keep the ball now. Let's play. Let's get back to our ways of playing. So as much as you want to say attack, you saw that maturity in his game, which I thought was excellent. And then it allowed the lads to keep the ball for a phase or two. So I think strong hands up have to be said for that right hand side for me tonight, probably between Jamie and Joshua Wagnerman. So I'll put it to you to make a strong decision.
I mean, how often have we actually praised the right-hand side of this team? Not very often. It's always Maxi. It's always Chris. I was looking at my phone to see the ratings here. It's like Maxi had a 8.5. Jeff Chabot had a 7.1 on FOTMob. Dennis had an 8. Jamie obviously had a 9. Angelo had a 7.7. I'm with you though. Is like, I think Joshua Wagnerman doesn't get enough credit for what he's doing to help stabilize that defense, especially 100%. Allowing Enzo to kind of run over the place. But I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. Jamie Leveling, hopefully he got that man of the match award, that little crystal ball they hand out, because not only did he score the goals, and we can make fun of how the second goal was scored, for as long as we want, but I 100% agree with you. Is his tracking back on defense? I know this is a talking point for another episode, but having his speed and Brun Larsen and Chris Furyk's speed for this club is just, it's what we've wanted since Silas was here, but it's much more controlled and it's much more organized now. And Jamie at 85% playing the way he played today.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Slovan is probably the worst team in the bracket.
I think
but we took care of business like we were supposed to. And that doesn't always happen. And Jamie was the guy who was playing not just offense and being opportunistic, but wasn't resting on that. He knew he was man of the match at some point. Not resting on those laurels and coming back to help what has got to be an exhausted Joshua clean up the messes on that right-hand side. So I'm with you 100%. It was a team victory, but Jamie is the one, I think, who gets the MVP. And as we do here in America, gets the free ice cream at the end of the game.
Sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very fair shout. It was, a strong performance from him. Yeah, Labeling working his way back, being able to put in a performance like that is fantastic for the team. And all this also being done without Voltemada and Brun Larsen because of registration issues, and they'll be able to put that right. Fingers crossed if we get into the next round. So yeah, that pretty much sums us up perfectly. It was a great watch tonight. Great 3-1 away victory for VfB Stuttgart in Bratislava, taking on Slovan, which bumps them up ahead of the powers that be, Hala Madrid, and all these big sides. Sets up PSG at home perfectly, and we will look to try and do this again. Hopefully. With beers at the ready to celebrate if we manage to triumph. Any final thoughts, Travis, before we bring it to an end?
Let's screenshot that photo of us ahead of Real Madrid, PSG, Man City, and just make posters of it and hang it proudly wherever we go, because this was a lot of fun. Not just the match, not just talking Rory to you, so you don't have to pretend to be unbiased doing your other show. You can let your Valpy colors fly. Exactly. But also next week, I mean, what we all wanted was a match that was going to matter, and we're playing in what could be, we'll find out exactly tomorrow, just this huge match that matters. And as Derek Ray said, we're in 3 competitions right now, and we have a chance to advance really far in all 3 of them. So it's a great time to be a Stuttgart supporter. It's a great time to be wearing the Bruce string right now. So let's celebrate it for what it is. We are 1 match left, and we got a chance to make the knockout stage against some of the best teams in the world, and we're one of the best teams in the world right now. That's just it.
Couldn't pair it any better myself, and we'll clip that up as well. We're one of the best teams in the world. Love that. Thanks everyone for watching. It was good fun. Let us know if you want more of these in the future, and hopefully we'll have many more to do this season all together. So big thanks to Travis. Big thanks to you all for watching. We'll catch you next time. We'll be back on Thursday for predictions and all such fun. So catch you then. Thanks all.
See ya.